From the heart of South Asia to the crossroads of Central Asia, from the turbulent Middle East and North Africa to the power corridors of the West, where narratives collide, perspectives matter and stories connect. This is Beyond Borders. I am Omar Khalid, but in the hour that will follow, we'll try to decipher stories that matter to us and to people across the world in a world without no boundaries and no borders, and of course for stories that matter in this changing world. We'll begin with what we call region lines. Pakistan emerges as a pivotal force shaping peace, securing alliances and resetting the balance of diplomacy across the globe. Pakistan's global stature was unmistakable in Sharm el-Sheikh, where President Donald Trump publicly praised Field Marshal Asim Munir and invited Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif to deliver remarks at the Gaza Peace Summit, where world leaders gathered to celebrate the signing of the Gaza ceasefire accord. Moving on, India is forging a nexus with the Afghan Taliban government to sponsor and facilitate state terrorism against Pakistan. Pakistan's security and diplomatic officials say that India's recent outreach to the Afghan Taliban, including a visit by a Taliban foreign minister to India, is part of a broader plan to destabilize Pakistan. The timing of the Taliban visit, followed by attacks on Pakistani soil, is being cited as a key indicator. Meanwhile, Pakistan lashes out at India for backtracking from its obligations under the United Nations Security Council resolutions guaranteeing the right to self-determination to the people of Jammu and Kashmir. Speaking at the UN General Assembly Special Political and Decolonization Committee, Pakistani delegate argued that India's settler colonial project in the disputed territory flagrantly violated international law. Asif Khan said Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir is not and has never been an integral part of India. The United States and China bring their trade war to the high seas, imposing additional port fees on ocean shipping firms that move everything from toys to crude oil. Early this year, U.S. President Donald Trump's administration announced plans to levy the fees on China-linked ships to loosen their country's grip on the global maritime industry and bolster U.S. shipbuilding. And finally, from the Central Asian region, where leaders unveiled the long-awaited 34-letter common Turkic alphabet that was aimed at uniting languages, strengthening cultural ties and boosting digital innovation across Turkic nations at the 12th Organization of Turkic States Summit. We'll begin, of course, with the Middle East and North Africa, where Pakistan's success over all that has transpired in Gaza, in Palestine, whether it be the 20-point peace plan, whether it be the agreement that was signed in Sharm el-Sheikh, and the way the US President praised Pakistan's leadership, whether it be Shehbaz Sharif Saab or Field Marshal Asim Munir, is testament to the fact that Pakistan's role has been extremely important in the current crisis. More in the following report.
Across continents, in power corridors from Washington to Riyadh, one nation's voice is echoing louder than ever before: Pakistan. Pakistan has emerged as a pivotal force, shaping peace, securing alliances, and resetting the balance of diplomacy across the globe. And at the Egyptian resort town of Sharm el-Sheikh, the world watched as that influence came into full view. In a moment of historic significance, world leaders gathered to sign the Gaza Peace Declaration, a landmark ceasefire and hostage release deal, brokered under the bold leadership of U.S. President Donald Trump. But it was Pakistan's role that stood out. During the global press conference, President Trump paused to praise Pakistan leadership for their tireless diplomatic efforts. Then, turning with a smile, he called Pakistan's Chief of Army Staff, Field Marshal Syed Asim Munir, his favorite field marshal.
Prime Minister Sharif of Pakistan, and also I have to say my favorite field marshal from Pakistan, who's not here, but the Prime Minister is here, and you're going to give his regards. Where are you? There you go. Thank you very much.
In that charged moment, Shehbaz Sharif was invited to the podium, not just to express gratitude, but to make global headlines.
Mr. President, I would like to salute you for your exemplary leadership, visionary leadership, and I think that you're the man this world needed most at this point in time.
The message had already been sent that Pakistan's diplomatic weight can no longer be ignored. This wasn't an isolated gesture. It was the result of years of calculated, quiet diplomacy. From mediating tensions in the Gulf, to back-channel diplomacy in the Indo-Pak theater, to strategic counterterrorism cooperation in Doha and Riyadh, Pakistan has become a stabilizing force in some of the world's most volatile regions. And behind this rising momentum stands the firm leadership of Field Marshal Syed Asim Munir, a military strategist whose calm authority and vision have earned the respect of global leaders, none more vocal than President Trump himself. In June 2025, Munir was hosted at the White House for a landmark lunch, the first time a sitting Pakistani chief of army staff was formally received by a U.S. president. In the cabinet room and Oval Office, alongside Secretary of State Marco Rubio, the discussions signaled a
To discuss more on this very important development as far as Pakistan's stance in the region and in the world is concerned, we've been joined by two guests. Let me introduce them to you one by one. In the studio, we've been joined by Dr. Saad Khan. He's an international political analyst. Dr. Saad, thank you very much to have joined us. Online, we've been joined all the way from Ankara by Dr. Selcuk Aydın, who's a Turkish academic. Thank you very much, Dr. Selcuk Aydın, to have joined us. And of course, it's an important issue, so it's the more perspectives, the better. We'll begin with you, Dr. Saad. Pakistan's global stature was unmistakable as far as Sharm el-Sheikh is concerned. We saw the body language of our Prime Minister. We saw the praise that was being helmed by the US President on the Pakistani leadership. Does this moment, in your point of view, reaffirm Pakistan's emergence as a pivotal voice for peace, for stability in the Middle East?
I think Pakistan had been a pivotal voice for peace in the Middle East since 1947, since the times of Quaid-e-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah. Quaid-e-Azam's point of view towards Palestine was unmistakable, very clear, and from that day to the present government, Pakistan's each successive government has stood for a just solution to the Middle East crisis, including a two-state solution, including the human rights of the Palestinian people. And time and again this has been acknowledged, and Sharm el-Sheikh was just in a long series of world acknowledgement for the past 8 decades. It was another resounding acknowledgement of Pakistan's global stature.
All right. Dr. Selcuk Aydın, I'd like to understand the Turkish perspective on this as well. The Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan, in a statement on X, said that he was deeply pleased with the negotiations that resulted in the ceasefire deal. Of course, we all know that Turkey was also involved in the talks, so was Qatar, Egypt, and the US. How important has Turkey's role been as far as these talks and the outcome is concerned, and how important has this collaboration been that resulted in this peace deal, and how important could this be in the future as well?
First of all, thank you for having me, and I am based in Istanbul, by the way, not Ankara. And secondly, of course, Turkey's role is quite critical because Turkey is the member of NATO, and Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan has close relation with President Trump because historically we have not seen this kind of close relation between the United States of America and Turkey during the Biden process. And thirdly, the most significant one is the security of the Palestinian people. That's why Turkey is very much, let's say, they play the key role for this negotiation process. And I think the most significant implication for the regime is the next step. So it will show that either Netanyahu is trusted for this negotiation process or not, and also that question also links with the President Trump. So the role of the President Trump is also very much controversial because that's the question whether he can also stop Netanyahu's genocide policies in the region. So if everything is going better, as you know, Turkish role in the Middle East very much empowered after the fall of Assad. And also recently, because of the Iran's retreat from the region, Turkey would be more active, powerful, not only Syria, but also in Iraq and also Lebanon, and also close ties and relations with the other Middle Eastern countries.
All right. Dr. Saad, coming to you, there are 2 points that I'm going to mix in this question. The first is the statement by Donald Trump, and the second is what our Prime Minister also said on the occasion. Our Prime Minister says that President Trump is a man of peace. Of course, this comment drew a lot of attention from across the globe. Do you feel there's a lot of diplomatic confidence that Pakistan has shown this time around? Secondly, if you come to Donald Trump and how he acknowledged not only Shehbaz Sharif sir, but also Field Marshal Asim Munir, do you feel there is a shift as far as Washington's perception towards peacekeeping and Pakistan's role in that is concerned in the region vis-a-vis India?
Definitely there is. For one, there had been an impression in the regional circles that United States had been in the past 1 decade or so slightly tilting towards India in the Indo-Pak equation. And in the past few months, because of the military success under the command of Field Marshal Asim Munir in Operation Bunyana Marsoos, because of Pakistan's proactive diplomacy, because of Pakistan's rising stature, a number of things have made it very, very clear that not only United States, but probably all other regional powers like global powers like China and Russia as well, now acknowledge Pakistan as a force to be reckoned with. Not only in its relationship with India or the regional powers, but also in its role as a global statesperson, as a global peacemaker. And that was repeatedly acknowledged by President Trump recently, in the recent few months.
Yes.
Pakistan's army chief, as you rightly said, is the only army chief in recent history of any country whom a US president had given an audience to. And not once, not twice, but thrice. The second thing, which you rightly asked, Pakistan's acknowledgement of Mr. Trump's role in bringing peace between India and Pakistan, in bringing peace in the Middle East, and as the President Trump claims that in 8 different wars in the world, I think it's the right thing to do, because Pakistan knows very well that if you start denying what's actually taking place in the world, like India tried to deny that there was no role of any third party like United States in the ceasefire between India and Pakistan on 10th May, that makes a joke of India itself, So I think this is something that Pakistan has done rightly, and as you might have noticed, that Prime Minister reiterated Pakistan's stance that Pakistan renominates him, the President Trump, for next year's Nobel Peace Prize.
All right. I mean, important perspectives from both Donald Trump as well as Shehbaz Sharif that highlight where this relationship is going, as well as the appreciation that both the sides have for each other under the current circumstances. Dr. Selcuk Aydın, I'd like to understand again Turkey's perspective on this whole matter, and I'll refer to Turkey's President Recep Tayyip Erdogan, who says that he's going to seek support from the Gulf countries now that the agreement has been signed, as well as the European countries to help rebuild Gaza. He also said that the recent moves by Western countries to recognize a Palestinian state needs to be seen as a building block towards a two-state solution. Now, he talks about the two-state solution, he talks about the rebuilding of Gaza. What do you foresee in the coming weeks? How important also is Turkey's role going to be in the coming weeks, in the coming months, whether it be the rebuilding of Gaza, whether it be the acknowledgement and the implementation of the two-state solution?
And thank you for this question. It is quite vital because we have to think about the Palestinians' situation, because they are under the assault attacks of Israel. I think we should also primarily highlight that the current government of Israel is genocider, and they did war crime, and they should be judged in the International Criminal Court and also international criminal justice. So I think that's the first thing, because the best I think moment in that meetings, President Erdogan did not land because there was a news about possibility of the Netanyahu's involvement to peace deal, and he didn't accept this kind of development during this peace process. So current Israeli government is an illegitimate government, and they are genocider. First of all, I think international powers should accept that, and current Israeli government should also be very much excluded from the international international system. And the second thing, I'm quite how can I define that process? But I do believe that not only Muslim communities, but also the heart of the world is with Palestinians. That's why reconstruction process of Palestine would not be so hard. Not only Turkey, but also Gulf, including Pakistan, Bangladesh, Egypt, and other parts of the world. Almost all nations are going to help that process to reconstruct Palestine. But the most significant question, I think, either Israelis are going to follow this peace deal or not.
All right, thank you very much, Dr. Selcuk Aydın, to have joined us all the way from Turkey and to have given us your perspective and also Turkey's perspective as far as how important this agreement is and what needs to be seen and highlighted so that whatever has been signed under the agreement is actually implemented. I think implementation becomes the key word here. Thank you very much to have joined us. Let's take you now to South Asia. Now, our first story in South Asia concerns, of course, the tensions, the border tensions between the Afghan side and the Pakistani side. And we all know the statements that came from the Afghan Taliban government and how Pakistan reacted, the skirmishes that happened between both the sides, and how Pakistan again claimed their superiority as far as military strategy is concerned. The fact is also that all seems in the direction of the Afghan Taliban and the Indian government joining hands for whatever reason, maybe also including the destabilization and continuation of the destabilization of Pakistan. There have been comments from both the sides, and we'd like to decipher those in our discussion with Dr. Saad Khan. Dr. Saad, Defense Minister Khaja Asif Saab describes Pakistan-Afghan relations as being in a stalemate with no ties, direct or indirect, and a hostile environment. Do you feel this indicates a very serious form of a diplomatic freeze between the two sides, or some kind of a tactical pause by Pakistan to reassess its counter-terrorism and border security strategy?
Both are equally correct, actually, because this is a pause in our, as the minister has said, in a diplomatic relationship with the Taliban regime, and it has reached a stalemate because of a number of reasons. And Pakistan also has to rethink its strategy towards its western borders, how to manage those borders, and the whole system of border control regime. I think the things have come to this pass because of the intransigence of our western neighbors, because Pakistan had been hosting them for 40 years, and 4 million of them had actually lived here in Pakistan, and that includes most of the top leadership of the regime at the moment, which is in power in Kabul. And after this hospitality for 4 decades or 4 decades and a half, going to India and supporting their point of view on Pahalgam is totally ridiculous, totally unacceptable, totally against the norms of diplomatic behavior. And that regime, which is in power in Kabul, rules in the name of Islam. And about 12 million Kashmiri Muslims are under alien occupation. And the statement that came out from Afghan interim foreign minister's visit to New Delhi have rightly been condemned by Pakistan, and we have right to express our concern.
All right, Dr. Saad, there have been a lot of offers of mediation as far as this conflict or crisis is concerned, whether it be Russia, whether it be the US, whether it be China. How do you view these mediation offers?
I think at the end of the day, the issues will have to be resolved bilaterally. But I think Pakistan has always, in every issue, right from the run of Kutch in 1960 to the issue of Jammu and Kashmir, Pakistan has been open to any third-party mediation in our dispute with any of our neighbors. Pakistan has never ever excluded the possibility of third-party mediation. And I think it would be best if Pakistan accepts the mediation offer of China. The reason being that the Afghanistan had hostile relationship with Russia because of the Soviet occupation and hostile relationship with the United States because of the 20 years of war that took place between the Taliban, who were then insurgents, and the American forces. So in a way, China is the absolute neutral partner, and China probably, even Pakistan was actually welcoming towards the idea of including Afghanistan in some of the CPEC projects, etc. China is also interested in investing in the infrastructure in Afghanistan. So China as a third party stakeholder can be a good choice. However, at the end of the day, it would be between Pakistan and Afghanistan that we convince them that whatever they are doing is not to their own benefit even.
All right. We've also been joined by Brigadier Haris Nawaz Sahab online. Thank you very much, Haris Nawaz Sahab, to have joined us. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Pakistan reacts to a comment by Zabiullah Mujahid as interference in Pakistan's internal affairs. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs also asks the Afghan Taliban regime to abide by its Doha commitments and prevent the use of Afghan soil for terrorism. How does the world view Kabul's apparent inability, or should I say unwillingness, to curb cross-border militant activity?
Umar, the issue is this Afghan Taliban regime is illegitimate, I would say, because they don't have the mandate of the people of Afghanistan, and they are still there, and they have never made their pride that they should have a politically inclusive government. They must have an ethnic balanced government, having a representation from Uzbeks, Tajiks, Hazaras, and Pashtun, because depending how much percentage each community has, they haven't done it. Then, of course, they talk about human rights violations of women that we have known it. The world is not recognizing them. People of Afghans are not happy with them. And then how dare they interfere in the internal affair of Pakistan? They got no business. We have never interfered in their affairs. That's what we are saying. They should mind their business. And rather, you should be ensuring that when you're committed in the Doha agreement, that they will not allow any terrorist organization to use their territory to go across to terrorism in other neighboring countries. They are not fulfilling that commitment also. So, and we have told many of them that they reminded that this you have to done it, do it. So the point is, and on the contrary, they're talking about what is happening in Pakistan. Pakistan should do this thing and that thing. They have no right to talk about it. And then, of course, we have problems with Afghanistan, but we can always tell them what your side is, particularly the Daesh, Farjis, and Afghan Talibans. They are crossing in the border, and they're getting a lot of terrorism activity in Pakistan. So that is the main concern, and they should be minding their own business. And they don't have to pass any remarks for Pakistan. We have been very nice. We have been extra nice. When we give you all logistic support, we give the wheat, we give you sugar, we give you fertilizer. We never get any hindrance in the Afghan project because we have a lot of respect for the people of Afghan people. Both sides, the Pashtuns, they have the relatives, and we don't want that they should suffer because of this illegitimate government or the Afghan Taliban's regime. So in that context, I think Foreign Office is absolutely right, and they were very loud and clear, and hope they have understood the message very loud and clear.
All right. Dr. Saad, when it comes to the Doha Agreement, we all know the guidelines, we all know the pointers that were agreed upon by the Afghan Taliban government, and then we see all those pointers being blown to smithereens, subsequently. We all remember the first statement by Amir Muttaqi saying that the Afghan soil will not be used against any neighborhood country, and in fact all that has been happening since then is the opposite and continues to happen to date. What should be Pakistan's strategy now? Pakistan has shown its might. When the Afghan Taliban side has tried to show some kind of push to destabilize Pakistan. What more should Pakistan do now under the current circumstances?
I think whatever Pakistan is doing in the right direction, because when Pakistan attacked the positions of Noor Wali Masood and other terrorists operating from Afghanistan against Pakistan, the first major statement in support of Pakistan came from Marco Rubio, the Secretary of State of the United States, saying that Pakistan has full right to target terrorists anywhere who are a threat to Pakistan's sovereignty or Pakistan's security and safety. And telling them that enough is enough, and using kinetic means to destroy their posts, eliminating about 200 of the terrorists, was one thing that was absolutely right thing to do. The second is obviously a strong stance taken by the foreign ministry throughout this crisis in the past few days, making it very clear, loud and clear, that Kabul has no business in interfering in our internal affairs. They have to stick to the Doha Agreement, that not a single inch of Afghan space should be used against terrorism, against any other state of the world, including Pakistan. And Pakistan has many other levers, by the way. Pakistan has Afghan transit trade, which Pakistan can stop at will if they don't behave. Pakistan, they need Pakistan for overseas travels, our airspace, etc., etc. There are still about 1 million Afghans left in Pakistan. So Pakistan has too many levers that Pakistan can use one by one. But I think the message has been given to them, and maybe we won't need to do any extra efforts to bring them to sanity.
All right. Brigadier Saab, seeing what happened between the 11th and 12th, how Pakistan temporarily captured around 21 posts, how around 200 terrorists were sent to hell, and how Pakistan showed its military superiority again vis-a-vis the Afghan Taliban government. Has the Afghan side understood the message, or is it still maybe trying to decipher what happened in these last few days?
You see, the Afghan Taliban regime, they did not understand that what we have done with the Indian army, such a large standing army, large military force, big country, and we played hell with them. And the Field Marshal, Sayyid Asim Munir, he planned, he brought the whole country together, and then he executed the plan in a way that really we took only 6 to 8 hours to put them on the knees. And then they went rushing towards Trump to please ask for ceasefire. Then they had their face black. They had a lot of disrespect. They were humiliated. They can't face their people where they have created a war in Syria, that I don't know what India is going to do with Pakistan. They have to eat the Pakistan out. And the way their media was creating a hype, that Lahore port has been destroyed, Quetta has been destroyed, Karachi port has been destroyed. They were talking like this, the way it's a star movie going on, you see. And then Afghan Taliban regime should have understood, if we have played hell with so big army, the Afghan Taliban regime has no army. It's a bunch of ill-disciplined few border security forces. And knowing our professional capability, they should have never dared coming and raiding our post and then trying to keep firing from their own post. And then we played hell with them and then ran, and they left 200 people dead, the Taliban's and also these Kharjis. And then we captured the 22 posts from where they used to launch the skills, and these terrorists, they would come to Pakistan side. Then we blasted their all, destroyed their post, and then we went for air and we destroyed so many, their training camps, their logistics camps, then their hideouts of terrorists. Whatever they have, we have all destroyed. We have done a job and we have made all the contingency. And so thank God that Pakistan is really taking a strong measure. I would say Pakistan now should have a latest information of where these Daesh and Kharji commanders are living. We must go on after them and kill them. We must kill their command elements. That's more important. And by now, they have understood the professional capability of armed forces, what we have done. And that's why the fourth time, they requested for ceasefire. And we have sought for the timing. We have not sought permanent ceasefire. Because now we want a guarantee from some other countries some Islamic country or whosoever come forward, that this time they have to come and give a guarantee that this, from now onward, their land will not be utilized with any terrorist organization. And India has to be told, and India has to be reigned by Americans. You must tell Americans that what India is
Needs to be
doing
told
is
a lot of
terrorism.
things. India needs to be told a lot of things on many different fora, Brigadier Haris Nawaz. And, whether it understands or not is another question altogether. Thank you very much to have joined us, Brigadier Haris Nawaz, defense expert, talking to us as far as, the whole situation between Pakistan and Afghanistan is concerned. Also, speaking of India, because, as Brigadier Saab said, that India needs to be, taken to task or made to understand a lot of things. Dr. Saad, at the United Nations, India continues to feign ignorance over the fact that the IIOJK, the Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir issue, is something that is still contested since decades. It is not, the region is not part of India, has never been an integral part of India, and any discussion on this cannot be held, and that is why at the fourth committee meeting on the decolonization items, Minister Asif Khan from the Pakistani side put a lot of things on the table and put India's perspective that was completely wrong or falsified. He put a lot of things right. He also named not only the way India has, on the Indian side, has been talking about the IIOJK issue, that it cannot be talked about, that it is India's internal matter, but he also named the TTP, the BLA and the Majid Brigade as India-backed terror proxies responsible for killing thousands in Pakistan. Are the global powers acknowledging that India is not a victim of terrorism, but a principal exporter of terrorism in South Asia?
Absolutely correct, because now it hardly matters whether India denies that IIOJK is an issue or not, because of their own mistakes, especially the one on 7th of May 2025. The issue of Jammu and Kashmir is again on the world's radar, and President Donald Trump has repeatedly said that he is willing to mediate, and now it's among the European leaders, among the Middle Eastern leaders, now the issue has been highlighted like never before in the past 5, 6, 7 years since 2019 actions by India. So Pakistan's minister has very, very rightly falsified whatever India had been claiming, and that is probably why that we have now stopped using the term BLA, etc., because we just call them Fitnatul Hindustan, because that makes sense. Yeah. They are Indian proxies, and India is a net exporter of terrorism. From what happened in the terrorist camps in the erstwhile East Pakistan in 1971, support of the Tamil rebels against the Sri Lankan government. They have been doing this with all neighboring countries, not only Pakistan. So I think the world has started to realize that India is a net exporter of terrorism, not a victim of terrorism.
Speaking of terrorism, let's also talk about Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir and how 900,000 plus Indian troops are present there since many, many years. And all the barbarities that are happening on the people, the hapless people in the Indian Hill Valley, draws a lot of similarity with what is or has been happening or has happened in Gaza. Why is the world body turning a blind eye to all of this?
Actually, Israel was a very prominent country, and probably when Palestine and Israel dispute was going on, there was more media attention on the Israel-Palestine dispute. But you have very rightly pointed out that the situation in Gaza and the situation in occupied valley of Kashmir is more or less similar. And it is indeed unfortunate that as much media attention as was there for the past 2 years on Palestine was not there so far focused on the Kashmir valley. The state terrorism by India is enough to be clarified by this very fact that 900,000 troops means in a small valley. It means that there is a ratio of one troop, one military personnel of India, military or paramilitary, to 3 adult Muslim male youth. So 1 to 3 is the ratio against civilian unarmed population. So just like Gaza, was and is an open air prison. Occupied Jammu and Kashmir is an open air prison. Every 100 meters you find a picket where the Kashmiris youth are humiliated, searched, slapped, insulted. And if that is not terrorism, what else is? It's a textbook case of state terrorism against an innocent people. And I think Pakistan has been successful in recent decades in highlighting this very issue. And in any case, the right of self-determination is not Pakistan's claim alone. It has been enshrined in United Nations resolutions, which is the collective will of the world community.
You say it has been enshrined in the United Nations resolutions, but then why doesn't the United Nations hold India accountable?
I think United Nations has been a bit diplomatic in holding accountable the countries which are powerful, the countries which are very big, the countries which are which provide them a big market for their exports, because United Nations is a committee of nations, but that is controlled by the 15 members Security Council, and out of those 15 members, only 5 members have the veto power, right? So if somebody has a good friend amongst those 5, let's say Israel, that after 2 years of genocide, not a single resolution of condemnation against Israel could be adopted. Same, I think, goes with India. It's not a single resolution of condemnation has been adopted. There are resolutions about the need for a plebiscite, but yes, I think the world community also needs some introspection, because the double standards have to end. They have to hold India accountable for crimes against humanity in the occupied, illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir.
That is true, but adding to all of that is the fact that India calls itself a pluralistic country, the world's largest democracy, but whatever has been happening or is happening in India, it's all but democratic, it's all but pluralistic. Shouldn't the international community question the democratic credentials of India, seeing what all has been happening within?
I think India is enough to question its own democratic credentials, because whatever they are doing is not democracy at all. Actually, it is a majoritarian dictatorship. There is a Hindutva ideology, and the Hindutva ideology, the people who voted for BJP, for example, in the past 3 elections, are not a majority. At best, they are a plurality. The highest vote that the BJP could get since its inception in 1985, when the first time BJP had parliamentary representation of only 2 seats, the highest is 37%, which is not the majority of India. But since they have been able to form government, so it's a Hindutva ideology against Muslims, against Sikhs, against Parsis, against all minorities, and especially against the Hindu majority, which is the Dalit community. Dalit community is something like 40% of the Hindu population.
True.
And how many Dalits do you see in any field in India? The number of police officers, let's say, the number of chief executives in the business, the number of prominent politicians in the parliament.
True.
A
a lot has been happening, and it's just not with the Muslims, it's also with the Sikhs, it's also with the Dalits, and it's also with the Christians. And the fact that, just like what has happened in the Middle East, there is a tipping point, and that is tipping point has been reached as far as India is concerned, whether it be the Indian Hill Valley or other places within India. And some tangible action needs to be taken, I feel, this is my personal opinion, before things move towards implosion of our eastern neighbor. Thank you very much, Dr. Saad, to have joined us. Let's move over now to the West. Our first story in the Western Hemisphere concerns the trade war between China and the US that has gained now new grounds, with both the sides now putting or adding tariffs on each other's items. We've been joined by Feng Yilei, who is a CGTN reporter. Thank you very much, Yilei, to have joined us. China's Commerce Ministry says the new port levies are meant to safeguard its shipping industry from the US discrimination. Do you feel that Beijing is signaling that it is now going to match Washington measure for measure in this new episode of trade wars, even at the cost of higher global trade disruption?
Thank you, Omar. As you just said, the key word in Beijing's official statement is safeguarding, and Chinese authorities have been very clear these new port levies on US-linked vessels are a necessary and justified defensive move. They are a direct, proportional response to the United States' highly discriminatory port fees imposed on Chinese-linked ships. And the official line here is that the US action is pure unilateralism and protectionism, which severely damages the legitimate interest of China's shipping industry and crucially undermines the international economic and trade order. China is not initiating the escalation. It is simply forced to respond to protect its own enterprises from what it views as an illegal US Section 301 investigation into China's maritime sector. So I should say the message from Beijing is not tit for tat for its own sake, and quite the opposite. China has always been a firm defender of free and fair global trade. So the onus obviously is on Washington, and Beijing has urged Washington to correct its wrongdoings and work with China to promote the healthy development of global trade. It does not want to see global trade disrupted, but it also will not tolerate unfair treatment of its own industries.
All right, thank you very much, Feng Yilei, to have joined us all the way from China. CGTN reporter Feng Yilei joining us, discussing the new trade war, or the new episode of trade wars between China and the US. Finally, let's take you to Central Asia. All right, in Central Asia, Turkic leaders have unveiled a 34-letter alphabet to unite the language. The 12th summit of the Organization of Turkic States, otherwise known as the OTS, named regional peace and security as its the theme of its meeting, but it is going to be remembered more for its cultural representation than for politics. President Recep Tayyip Erdogan of Turkey presented leaders two books that were printed in a newly proposed 34-letter common Turkic alphabet that signals a historic step towards linguistic unity. That's a very interesting step, and for all the countries to have a unified language will go a long way in understanding each other in a much better fashion. With that, ladies and gentlemen, we come to an end of today's Beyond Borders. It's been an interesting journey so far in these 40-45 minutes. We'll take you to other such journeys in the days to come, where we'll explore stories that matter to the world in a world that does not include borders and boundaries. Till then, Allah Hafiz.